This is a download from BFM 89.9, the business station.
Good afternoon. It's time for Tech Talk. The internet is never a safe place with tons of viruses and malware. Nothing is guaranteed secure. Well, just recently we talked about some of the common attacks like DDOS, but have you heard about Lizamoon Attacks? Well, here with me today is Krishna Rajagopal, the CEO of AKATI Consulting. Of course, I'm Frida Liu. Before we get into what Lizamoon Attacks is, you disappeared just before, the government sites were hacked into and before Anonymous and Lalsac. So, were you involved in any way?
No, absolutely not. It was completely unintentional. I had work and I was out of the country.
Right. What sort of work?
Oh, yeah, official work.
Okay, so what is Lizamoon Attacks? Sounds something like a Japanese cartoon.
Well, actually, I had a friend once, quite recently, in the middle of the night, around 11, she called me up and she said, Krishna, this PC at home where my parents use, something happened to it. Now there is porn pages popping from it. And then besides that, there's this funny antivirus program on that machine that keeps saying that there are loads of viruses and threats on that machine, and I can't seem to remove the software. Right? That's Lizamoon. Now, basically Lizamoon is where malware writers, what they do is they write codes and they make use of website vulnerabilities, and they inject these malicious scripts and into millions of websites. Last that we counted was about 4 million websites were infected. And what they do is, it's actually part of an ambitious attack where they try to redirect the surface to a site that pimps off rogue antivirus softwares. Right? And the reason why it's called Lizamoon is because the very first website that they found that was vulnerable to this particular attack was www.lizamoon.com.
Selling what?
We don't know. The site has been down since then.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, it's got no relationship to Ultraman or Sailor Moon.
Okay. So what was the vulnerability exploited in this attack? Or in simple English, how did they do it?
Right.
What movie?
Unfortunately, no. I'm not that good in Japanese cartoon character movies, though. But if you Google Lizamoon, you'll probably have read a lot of news about it on CNN and stuff like that. And you'll probably see a headline that's quite similar to this. Lizamoon mass SQL injection attack hits almost 4 million websites. Now, a lot of focus has been given to Lizamoon being an SQL injection attack. While SQL injection was just one of the vectors, it was actually sort of a mean to an end. The actual attack was a combination of two different types of attack. One of it was called a cross-site scripting attack, and the other was an SQL injection. Right? And what happens here is the cross-site scripting attack was used by the malicious attacker to sort of execute some form of code on the browser of the user, and the SQL injection was to redirect the user to the rogue site. Right? And when that happens, what actually happens is, if from a enterprise point of view or a company who owns the website, you're not exactly attacked, nothing has been stolen from your website, but you've now become a platform for these attacks to happen. And so it's very important to know that it's actually a combination of two different attacks, because if you read the news headlines and you say, okay, SQL injection, and go back to the office and try to fix SQL injection, you're only solving half your problem. Right? You've got to actually tackle cross-site scripting as well. Okay. So in plain English, Lizamoon is actually a stored cross-site scripting attack through SQL injection.
Sorry, that was plain English.
Yes.
Okay, what's the effect on the user?
Right. From a user's point of view, as far as the user is concerned, you won't actually notice any considerable effect on performance. You don't really slow down, or things won't really pop up most of the time. Some instances you probably have porn popping up, but most of the time what happens is, when you get redirected to that rogue site, the site will now display some information that your PC is now infected with a lot of viruses. That's really dangerous. And then you would now say, would you like to remove it? And then you would click on it. You'd get a fake screen that looks like your My Computer, like Windows Explorer. and it'll look like it's trying to run some kind of scans. And as it's running through these scans, it'll finish really quick, and then it'll say you've got 20 or 30 different viruses. And then now you'll be brought to another screen where you'd now be downloading a tool called Windows Stability Center. Right, that looks like a real antivirus, right? In fact, it looks better than a lot of antiviruses, right? And it'll now run another detailed scan, and then it'll now entice you into purchasing a full package, which is for usually it's about $70 or $80.
Oh, that's where they make their money.
That's where they make the money. So imagine 4 million websites being attacked. We have no clue on how many users have been attacked, though.
Okay, so what is this? So is this attack primarily targeted on a user or an enterprise, or business like DDoS?
Well, what they've done is they've tackled this issue slightly different. What happens is they're attacking the enterprises using their website as a platform to target these attacks, but their main victim is actually end users at home, right? When this attack came along the way, they were actually trying to attack iTunes, right? So they managed to sort of attack some of those sites which has podcasts, which are RSS feeds that feed into our iTunes. Unfortunately, Apple's structure does not allow you to run any script.
I tell you.
Good job, Apple. They've blocked it.
Okay, so is there a cure? I mean, is there an antivirus that actually prevents this?
Well, okay. From an end user perspective, there is a cure. First of all, let me just target this in a simple manner. If you look at it, to put it simply, don't install unknown files. Right? A more detailed solution would be, as an end user, know what antivirus is present in your machine. So for example, if I've got Kaspersky or Symantec or McAfee, whatever it is, know how this system looks like. Know how a screen of Kaspersky, for example, looks like. So when it's scanning something, know whether it is actually your antivirus or is it something else. Number 2 is, if you put some common sense to this whole deal, you'll find that this process is a bit fishy. Why? First of all, a virus scan inside your Windows Explorer and it's running within your browser. That doesn't make sense. Number 2, the scans seem to finish at lightning speed. Start, finish. You've got 10 viruses.
It doesn't make sense to you, but other people it makes sense.
Yeah, but remember, your PC's virus scans are always slow, right? You're meant to start the scan and go for lunch and come back, right? So it finishes in 3 seconds. Something's not right?
Okay, 3 seconds is a bit fast. Okay, so is the purpose the same, just like all the other attacks? At the end of the day, credit card numbers, in this case, you willingly give it to them.
Yes.
Because you think you're buying something.
At a very good deal, right? Because they'll probably tell you, normal price is about $200 or $100 or something, and it gives you a whole list of packages. Right? A whole suite of softwares, and you're only getting it for $79. So the purpose is still the same. End of the day, they want your credit card information and they want your money, right? In another angle, of course, they also would now want to use this vector for a future gain. Right, part of that DDoS attacks to make these machines into bots. Again, there's monetary gain there as well, right? Because bots are commodities. Okay,
I'm saying to Krishna Rajagopal, the CEO of AKATI Consulting, about Lizamoon Attacks. And in just a moment, we'll talk about some of the examples right here in Tech Talk, BFM 89.9. Good afternoon, Frida Leo in Tech Talk, and with me today is Krishna Rajagopal, the CEO of AKATI Consulting. In case you've just joined us, we're talking about Lizamoon Attacks. Now, how easy is it for someone to inject a Lizamoon virus or to develop Lizamoon?
Well, Frida, piece of cake. Right? If you actually look at it, back in 2008, we had a similar type of attack. We call it the skeleton key attack. And that was primarily SQL injection type of attack. Pretty straightforward. There was a piece of code. You could just replicate it, copy and paste, and you would now run it and infect machines. What this skeleton key attack would do is basically they use multiple SQL commands and they create a little script that would now sort of loop through all your tables in your database and inject malicious scripts within the table itself. So essentially, if you've got 300 entries in a table, every single entry is going to be a redirection to a malicious third-party site. Now, quite similar to that, in the following year, we had another attack called Gambler. Now, Lizamoon in the other angle is similar in that sense. It infects a lot of websites, but it's different because it's not just an SQL injection attack. It is a cross-site scripting with an SQL injection, but end of the day, for a malicious user to create this attack and to sort of develop this work of art is a piece of cake, because all of these pieces of code exist on the net, and this famous ur.php file is there on any site. They could just recreate this and just change it to their own version of rogue antivirus softwares.
Alright, so what are some examples of famous Lizamoon attacks?
Well, if you do a Google search, and you would find something like, a script tag, lizamoon.com/ur.php or something like that, you'd find hundreds and hundreds and thousands of sites. But from the famous sites that we know of, there was an attempt on iTunes, but then it wasn't successful. We don't have any data of any major sites that are vulnerable to Lizamoon. However, there are tons of big sites out there that are vulnerable to cross-site scripting and SQL injection, which is the root of this. It's just that they have not been manipulated yet.
How do you know? You've experimented.
Yeah, so we would probably show you a small demonstration later.
All right, okay. And we'll talk about that in just a moment. Now, if I'm developing a website, web application, shouldn't the programmer know how to prevent these things?
See, unfortunately, Frida, the industry is so competitive. So, programmers are being pushed to meet deadlines. And the main focus has been to get it up and get it running. Right, so security seems to be the last thing on the mind, right? It is, and even large organizations that sell software as a service, they're not really focused on security. They said, look, as long as my product works, customers are going to buy it. So until the day that security becomes a very, very key deciding factor for customers to choose softwares and solutions, and programmers for that matter of fact, when they hire a programmer, are you able to write secure code? Until that type of mentality comes along the way, we're still not going to find these information being put into the educational perspective when programmers are being trained. They're still not going to be there.
Okay, we've covered a little bit about how to avoid this. Any additional points that you want to include there?
Well, yeah. So end of the day, remember that don't install unknown files and always be suspicious. So people like this attack like Lizamoon, for example. Lizamoon can't do a thing on your system unless you let it to, right? So if you have to download a file that supposedly is downloaded and looks like your Windows Explorer, that should raise red flags immediately, right? And if something runs that looks like your antivirus, right, within a browser, or runs a file that's downloaded and runs and it looks like another antivirus, but you don't have that antivirus, right? Like what I mentioned earlier, know what antivirus you have. And these things are basically common sense that you could now use to say, look, this is suspicious, let me close it. Done. Lizamoon is useless.
Wow, they're using antivirus as a ploy.
Yeah. See, that always works.
Yeah. Oh, how many times have I fallen for that one? Now, okay, would there be variations of this Lizamoon attack, with a different name, like we talk about Sailor Moon, Hello Kitty,
Well, unfortunately, right now, they haven't come up with any interesting names yet, but there are variations already. There is one variation that started about a couple of months back, lurking on WordPress sites. Right, that tries to modify the header and the footer files. You'd probably find them lurking around in the net already. There is another morphed version that also exploits a very recent Adobe Flash shockwave vulnerability. You call this vulnerability as CVE 2011-2110. If you look that up in Google, you'll find the details of that vulnerability, and they've used that to sort of come up with an attack that's quite similar to this. And I don't know if you remember, a long time ago I mentioned about drive-by phishing. Right? This is drive-by phishing. Right? This is drive-by phishing in action.
Right. Okay, I've been speaking to Krishna Rajagopal, the CEO of AKATI Consulting, about Lizamoon Attacks. Now, you can also catch his demo of a Lizamoon attack. Check that out on our website. Not an attack on our website, but check that out on our website, bfm.my, and of course the BFM Enterprise Facebook page as well. So there'll be a video up there. This is Tech Talk, BFM 89.9.
Thank you for listening to this podcast. To find more great interviews, go to bfm.my or find us on iTunes. BFM 89.9, the business station.